Hello and welcome to episode 1445 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, August 22nd. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, how's it going?
It's going well. I had my softball playoffs last night, and we fell just short of the championship win. But it was our first
Team
playoff
advancement, though,
win.
right?
Yeah, it's our first playoff win in 25 years of
There you
this
go.
team being in existence. 20 years for me on this team, and so to make the championship and lose 9-7 in a game that was winnable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we were close. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm a little sore today, but we push forward.
Exactly. We push forward, and I'm glad to hear that the team is, setting a franchise first,
Yeah.
right? With the playoff win and everything. As long as you're moving forward, keeps it worth playing and a lot of fun. So I'm glad you guys had some fun out there. We're gonna talk some two-star pitchers today, and Justin, I got an interesting board for you. Last week we had the shortened board, not much to go off of. This week it's kind of mid in terms of volume, but the names are really intriguing. And if I had told you on March 22nd that on August 22nd we'd be talking about some of these guys, you just said, wait, what happened? I thought Brandon Pfaadt was going to break out. I thought Bailey Ober was a bankable stud with Tanner Bibee. I thought Sean Manaea, et cetera, et cetera. We got a lot of names here that a little bit surprising that we're having to ask if we're starting them in two steps. But this is where their performance is. And as always, we start with Arizona. And as always, we start with intriguing but perhaps maybe a little bit uninspiring names here with Eduardo and Pfaadt. So lefty righty versions here. I mean, not of each other. They're not the same, but they bring the same frustrations where both can get going, and then usually via the home run, they'll have a bad game or two. Actually, I am going to lean into the lefty righty versions of each other. They're really not that different. More Ks this year for Erod than Pfaadt, but too many hits, too many homers, big problems, and then just I haven't even told you the matchups yet. Probably going to move on right to the next team because it's at Milwaukee and at the Dodgers for both. Do you have any interest in Erod or Pfaadt? And if so, where?
Oh man, probably not outside of like desperation at a 15.
Yeah, Hail Mary mode for them, right?
You're talking about the hottest team in all of baseball in Milwaukee. Like, it's been unreal. Like, did they win 15 in a row or something? Like
14 in a row, and then
yeah,
lost one and then back on winning again, I think, right after that.
My wife has a friend that she's met through like the fantasy world who lives in Milwaukee named Kenneth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if Kenneth listens or not, but shout out to Kenneth.
What up, Kenneth?
And he's a Milwaukee fan, and he was the other day. He's like, "Oh, we lost." Blah, blah, blah. He's like, I've kind of forgot what losing was
right.
like.
When you get on a win streak like that,
I hate you, Kev.
You're like, shut up, Kev.
Yeah.
You're Kenneth. What the hell are you talking
Well,
about?
no, we'll call him Kev now. Your name is Kenneth.
Don't even give me your real name when you start talking like that. Okay, so I was wrong about going back to their winning ways. They lost to Cincinnati to break up the streak, won the first one at Chicago, but then lost 3 straight to the Cubs. So, little bit. Kenneth is inconsolable. Yeah. He is inconsolable this weekend with 3 straight lost in Chicago against the Cubs. But obviously, they're still fine. We're not too worried about the Brewers. We're still scared of them. So the Erod and Pfaadt, I can't get to them anywhere like you except the Hail Mary mode where you're throwing shit against the wall and trying to get lucky. And even then, I don't know that they're the best move because their matchups are so tough. But like if you're
looking for strikeouts or you're looking for wins and you don't really care about your ratios, I can get behind it because you're getting 2 shots at a win, right? Mm-hmm. And these are guys who can rack up strikeouts at times. So I'm
competent offense too to get you some support, right? And I know they're going to be facing Milwaukee and Dodgers pitching, but it's not like the D-backs have no offense. So yeah, I don't mind that for that example. Flip it here. Let's go to Baltimore and look at Tomoyuki Sugano. He might be your guy. It is light upside, though, because it is purely ratio. There's no strikeouts to speak of. Wins could be tough. It's Boston and then a trip out west to your Giants. Is Sugano doing anything for you? I've mentioned before that a lot of my commenters on my SP chart like to call him Saigano. There's some big fans there, but is Tomoyuki Sugano getting into any of your lineups this week?
That is kind of tough. He's had like the tale of 3 seasons where like he was unhittable. Well, not unhittable. Like he couldn't give up a hit technically, right? But like he was allowing a ton of contact. It just ball was finding gloves. And then he went through an absolute terrible stretch, which really destroyed his line.
Like all that early, sorry to interrupt you, but all that early regression kind of came back. All that early like good fortune came back in a regressive
as
form.
we expected it to, because you're talking about a guy who just allows an insane amount of contact. And eventually the ball was just going to find holes in the infield. And it did, and it ruined his season line. However, over his last 5 starts, he's kind of back to where he was at the beginning of the season. You know, he's got a 1.91 ERA in 5 starts, 28 and a third innings, with 22 strikeouts. Even the strikeouts aren't as bad as they were at points this season. He's not walking guys. He's not giving up home runs. But this is a really, really scary profile because he's allowing almost 95% zone contact. That's insane. That is a ton of in-zone contact to be allowing. It means the ball is going to always be in play. You're going to be really dependent on your defense. I'm a little concerned.
I will say this about Sugano. It's a second straight matchup against Boston, and in Fenway, he went 5 innings of 1 unearned run, 3 strikeouts, no walks.
And now he's at home for that matchup, and then he goes to San Francisco, which is a great place to pitch. Kind of protect you from, a lot there, but it's still pretty risky. I'd say 15s only, but I can understand in some 12s people might roll the dice here.
I can see it too, because I mean, especially depending on your standings in the chase scenario that you're in. Again, if it is ratio chasing that you want, then Sugano could be your guy. He has 10 wins, so I won't rule out the win possibility, because similar to Arizona, Baltimore is a disappointing team this year, but they're not devoid of talent, especially on the offensive side. So you could get the support you need for Sugano to steal a win, if not 2, and obviously that would be huge if you could get 2 wins there. Boston and San Francisco again are the matchups for Sugano. As we move on here, we go to Walker Buehler, who could be his opposite in that Boston matchup there with Sugano. He's going to get at Baltimore and home to Pittsburgh. Juices on the end, as we like to say, when the second start is the better one, which gives us a little bit of pause. But it is on Saturday, so he could afford maybe like one day of something, and maybe they would just keep the same schedule and keep Buehler for Pittsburgh, or maybe they would pivot to Giolito because he's better. I don't know, but it's at Baltimore, home to Pittsburgh. I've been out on Buehler all year. I'm not getting in here, are you? You're muted.
See, I'm so excited that I didn't mute myself. No, I'm not interested in Buehler. There's a report yesterday came out that he could be moved to the bullpen prior to his next start. So, and he absolutely should be. So I can't imagine there's any format
What's
in
your
which I'm
long-term
starting.
outlook? He's 31 now. Is Walker Buehler done as a fantasy asset? A notable one.
I mean, I kind of look at Walker Buehler as Patrick Morgan. Like, he's a guy that at this point in his career, I think he can probably be a useful number 4 or 5 starter for a franchise that's just looking to soak up 200 or 150 to 180 innings a year. But from a fantasy angle, like, what is there left at this point?
He also, you mentioned the injury for Buehler, missed all of 23, and there's a lot of data. I don't know if it's evidence necessarily, but like a lot of well-founded speculation that he was a sticky stuff guy, and like a real big, he got a real big benefit from it to the point where he hasn't been able to adjust. Other guys obviously benefited from it too, and they've adjusted. But Buehler seems to be that kind of poster child who went from, on the way to acehood to now being a 5th, 6th starter. So yeah, it's a little bit rough even in the long-term situation right now for Walker Buehler. Let's go with another B last name here who's been disappointing this year, Tanner Bibee. We talked about him. He's been a guy that we've liked on this show in previous years. We saw him as a bankable asset this year after a quality campaign last year that started a little bumpy, but got situated. And I thought he was going to have another, clock it quality season, like a metronome here, just keep punching the clock on good seasons. No, that has not been the case. It's a 4.62 30 Anything over 125 starts to be a problem with the whip. And homers are also getting Bibee. He went from 0.8 in his rookie year to a manageable 1.1 last year, but then 1.5 this year, 1.5. And that's a problem. So Bibee's got Tampa Bay and Seattle both at home. Decent matchups, decent teams. Where do you come out here for Bibee?
Bibee is a tough one for me because I have been such a huge fan of him, and he's been so disappointing this year.
Been really frustrating.
Really just not locating in the same way that he has previously. And it's really more about the command than it is control. The control is definitely worse, but he just has really, really struggled to place the ball within the zone. And it's been so inconsistent this year that outside of a 15, especially when you've got a Tampa Bay team who can be a really good hitting team and a Seattle team that can be a really good hitting team, I don't know that I trust him. Like, you don't have massive strikeout upside that of 15. I think 15 you're doing this for sure. I think 12 is where you have the real question. Yeah. And it's kind of
that's right.
What are you looking for at this point? I don't. I think this is like a win-seeking kind of.
I was just about to say it's a sneaky win probability because Cleveland now all of a sudden they're 64 and 62, and playing some halfway decent ball here, 10-8 in August, 14 and 12 in July, above 500 now for a month and a half at least, even as they've hemorrhaged parts both via trades and of course via the suspensions of Ortiz and Clase. So that part's kind of interesting. You wouldn't expect necessarily to be running him for wins, but yeah, the Tampa Bay one I like. Seattle scares me. They've been better this year and it has held. There's still not an offense I run from, though. So I am 15s with Bibee, and I am 12s considering for sure. Let's go to the White Sox, because they've got a pair of guys that are kind of interesting. Shane Smith and Martín Pérez. I originally labeled that Martín Pérez was returning. He's been back for a couple of starts. I missed that he was back. So this is Shane Smith and Martín Pérez, both getting KC and the Yankees at home. Do you like either? Let's start with Shane Smith between Smith and Pérez.
I love Shane Smith, but he's been so inconsistent in the second half that it's really hard to kind of pull the trigger here. And one of the things that I didn't even realize until we kind of started talking about things is how good Kansas City's been.
They've been blazing, dude. You got to be careful with them. Yep.
They've been like really, really good here in over the course of the last 30 days. The Kansas City Royals are the 5th best team in terms of OPS. So like that's scary to me, especially when you have the Yankees as the second part of that. I think this is, and 15s, you're probably running with it because he has been pretty good over the course of his last 5 starts. But in 10s and 12s, you should have better options here.
You probably should. I agree. Can I ask you something random here? Mm-hmm. This is unrelated to Shane Smith, Royals, or Yankees. I was just kind of looking down the board here. Why do the Rays have Saturday off?
It's weird scheduling, right?
Saturday?
Yeah.
Against the Cardinals, they played yesterday, played today.
I talked about this with
tomorrow
Jason
and play Sunday.
I'm trying to remember. There's a football game.
Oh, football fucking ruins it.
Yeah, there's a football game, and that's why.
Are we even moving on? Martín Pérez, a guy I've loved over the years. I've gotten a lot of fantasy goodness out of Martín Pérez. I've taken some beatings. If you're going to be on a guy like this, kind of a 4 or 5 starter over many years, you're going to get some thrashings for sure. But he's put up a lot of good numbers over the 14 years. He was actually cruising this year before the injury, and he missed a ton of time. He went out in April. Yeah, mid-April there. It was only 4 starts, but 3 of them were good. The one where he got injured was a little bit bad. He's back. Decent return out of the bullpen against my Tigers, and then 5 1/3 in a start against Atlanta with 1 unearned run, 5 with the KC Yankee matchups, because he's a lefty versus the righty, and I think KC's been doing most of their work against righties.
I mean, I don't feel very good about it. Like,
do you feel better though? Between the two, do you have a lean, or are they just both too scary for you?
I think they're both just too scary for me. You're talking about a White Sox team that isn't going to win. Like, so like the win potential.
That's fair.
And you're so like,
he was at your game last night. He said your stuff wasn't very good. He watched you through a bullpen.
Not wrong. I get it.
Yeah, he was unimpressed.
40 years old, I don't have the stuff that I used to.
KC is cooking lefties as well. Since July 1st, they're 7th in WOBA. Yankees are 4th.
This people's seasons, right? Like, like they go, oh, look.
For either Shane or Perez.
Look, there's a two-starter or two-star guy on the wire, and like he's been great when he's been pitching this season. I'm gonna pick him up and I'm gonna roll with him, and then he puts up like 2 straight 3-inning, 7 earned, 1 strikeout performances, and you're like, that's my season.
Yeah. If you run either of these guys, I will also point out New York 7th, Kansas City 9th since July 1st in WOBA against righties. So Smith, Perez, they're both taking it really tough. At least they're both at home, but you don't want to be here, folks. This is too scary and not enough upside to take the gamble. This guy does have enough upside to take the gamble, and I'm not talking 15s here with Noah Cameron because I think he's a lock in the lineup right now for 15s already. Just 18 starts into his career with a 2.53 ERA, 107 WHIP, and with numbers like that, you might even be asking, well, why are we even questioning 12s and 10s either? He is still a rookie. Does anything about the at White Sox home to Detroit take you off of Cameron in 10s or 12s, or is he fully graduated off this list for the rest of the year to where he is just a set it and forget it guy?
I mean, the underlying numbers say like he can't be this good forever, right? But at the same time, like, hey, like, why can't he just outrun those underlying stats? Like this, I think this will definitely be a helium guy coming into next season.
Yeah.
That I kind of.
Do you think it'll be crazy helium, or could it be a little bit underrated because Noah Cameron?
No, I think it'll be underrated, especially because we're not talking about a guy with a massive strikeout rate or on a team that is like a powerhouse type of team. So like, I think he probably he won't be like super overrated, but I do think that
he'll have his believers that push Cameron up a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially in I probably would be fading at his price. Though there are definitely times where I think that heading into the end of a season and like into projection season, and then I run my projection, and everybody else does such a huge back away that you go, oh, like, look, his teammate Michael Wacha, this has happened to him like the last 4 years, where everybody's all like, he can't do that again. And everybody walks away, and then all of a sudden, like, you're getting Michael Wacha at pick 2, like 47, and you're like, okay, well,
sometimes there's an overcorrection of like, oh, well, they can't do this. We gotta absolutely run for them, and you're like, well, they kind of can do it, right? Like, if you're gonna give them to me this cheap, I'll take a shot. No, so I'm with you on that for sure. As we're kind of looking through this here with Noah Cameron, he'll be a hot topic, I think, throughout the offseason rules. But I do like him, and I would start him everywhere here, and I would start him the rest of the way. I say the rest of the way. There might not be that many more 2 steps. Maybe 1, maybe 2 the rest of the way for pitchers, depending on how the schedule breaks, so it won't be too crazy. Kyle Hendricks, we're not gonna even. I didn't even put his matchups. That's how little I figured we would consider him. No shade, just honesty. Let's go to the Marlins because they got 2 guys here. People know the deal with him this year, but the other is Edward Cabrera, who's had a fantastic season, set a new career high with 117 innings. But Justin, are the wheels coming off a bit on Mr. Edward Cabrera because last few starts haven't been so good? We're looking at 9 earned, 10 unearned, 10 total runs. Excuse me, 11 total runs, 9 earned, so 2 unearned runs in 9 2/3, 18 hits, 12 Ks, 4 walks. No homers, though, in the 2 bad starts for Edward Cabrera. That does hearten me. Just a little blip or an unraveling here as he gets through his longest season ever with Edward Cabrera. Let's start with him.
I think it's just a little blip. You're talking about in each of these last 2 games, he said like really, really high BABIPs and low strand rates. I think getting a bit unlucky. The last game for Edward Cabrera, he had a strand rate.
It's crazy.
Like, I didn't
watch it. It was, yeah, it was kind of annoying if you're a Cabrera person, because I mean he gave some hits. Yeah. I don't want to pretend like Seattle or St. Louis didn't do anything, but like it was a tough outing because again I love the 12 strikeouts, no homers, 4 walks. He had 3 walks in one of them, 1 in the other. But all in all, I'm not as scared about this. I'm not a big Cabrera guy. I was slow to jump in this year. I said they should trade him. I've been cautious. I'm not using these 2 bad starts.
I've been very anti-Cabrera too over the course of his career, just because he struggles with health and struggles with consistent command and control. That is not neither have been an issue.
So you're sticking with him then?
I think if he's on my roster, I'm using him. Like I can't imagine like that if he got dropped, I'm picking him up. If someone went like, here's the end, let me get out. Like I'm picking him up and I'm streaming him here.
I absolutely would too, and that's probably only in 10 teamers that you would see that for somebody like Edward Cabrera. But people panic, and it was 2 bad starts. Sit tight. Now, if he goes 2 more bad ones, then we reassess next week. But right now, he gets more leeway than 2 tough BABIP infused bad starts. Sandy
being, it's really interesting too because we're seeing like similar issues between Sandy Alcantara and Spencer Strider, 2 guys that were on my fade list for a reason.
Yep.
Having the
you weren't taking the injury returns.
Yeah, having the issues that we're talking about right now. He's been really good over his last 2 starts. 13 innings total with only 2 earned runs and 16 strikeouts. I think you are pot committed on guys like this, right? Like if you believed in them and you drafted them and you've held them and you should be starting them in probably every format, knowing the risk that comes associated with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that here's the tough thing too. So Sandy had 2 good starts before the deadline, got everyone excited that they might trade him because teams figure he's turned a corner. There's team control beyond that. But then 2 tough starts right after the deadline, one of which was a bad inning against Houston. He still threw 7 innings, and he had a 5-run inning. And then it was a shaky one at Atlanta. But then 2 more good starts at Boston and versus St. Louis. He's been excellent for Sandy. So what if you weren't bought in on him? Is there any like pickups here in a 10 or 12 where even if because you've been out from day one this year, as have I could the Atlanta at Mets be worth streaming for Sandy if you haven't had him this year?
Absolutely. Like, is there a risk? But yeah, like with how beat up pitching staffs are right now, I can totally understand. Now, I think the real question is, like, would you rather pick up a guy like Sandy, or would you rather pick up a guy like Bubba Chandler?
That's a good question.
Who is making his debut today, right? Oh, I know what I'm doing today.
I think he's going to come out of the pen too, isn't he? Isn't he following?
Yeah, he's going to be a bulk roll. He's going to follow Ashcraft. So, yeah, like that's really interesting to me because I think I might lean Bubba Chandler here, especially if he's going to be a bulk roll guy and you can potentially get a cheap win. Though it is Pittsburgh, so who knows?
Right. Right.
Yeah, it might be Chandler for me, but I also see the upside there in Sandy, considering he has been good over the last 2. You just know the blow-up's going to come at some point.
That's the tough part. And will it be that season ruiner that you were talking about earlier? That is the concern with Sandy. So it's super risky.
That's
super
been
risky.
The entire season for Sandy. He will put together 2-3 really good starts, and then he will put up 2-3 really terrible starts. And those terrible starts way harder on your line than the good ones. And
absolutely. I like to use game score as just an easy shorthand because it works for a shorthand. Anything 55 and above is a good start. He's got 8 of those.
Yeah.
Anything 40 and below is a bad start, and Sandy has 11 of those.
Yeah, the place that I'm, and this is gonna seem weird because this is like the antithesis of what I would normally say, but with these kind of guys, it's the kind of the place that I would actually prefer Sandy right now is a head-to-head league where you're just hoping to get hot, right? And because everything that's happened previous doesn't matter in a head-to-head league once you get the playoffs and stuff.
Right. So you're just kind of hoping that he's still rolling here. So there's some viability to it, but be very careful there, folks.
Yeah, it could literally end your season. Sandy could.
This one, Jacob Misiorowski, he's on this is very clearly last season's Garrett Crochet, or this season's Garrett Crochet, I should say, where the second half is just going to be infuriating in terms of small starts. Now, they might dial it up down the stretch, especially if the lead gets tight or anything like that, but they might dial it up to kind of get him going for the playoffs, or they're going to keep him in the bullpen for the playoffs. I don't really know. But his last 4 have been 3 2/3, 4 innings, 1 1/3, 4 innings for Jacob Misiorowski. So do you pull the trigger in a 2-step? Do you take your 1 full start's worth, basically, is what you're probably going to get this week? It's Arizona and at Toronto. How do we feel about that with Jacob Misiorowski?
Yeah, I don't think I do this.
I don't think so either, to be honest.
You're not. He's not going to go deep enough in order to qualify for win, unless you really need strikeouts. But the problem with when you're a 2 to 3 or 4 inning guy is the margin for error is just so small.
Right.
It's
nothing. Yeah.
And we saw that over the course of these last few starts where, hey, he gave up a few runs and all of a sudden he's out of the game, and you're looking at that game against Cincinnati where he went an inning and a third and gave up 5. That was a 33, almost 34 ERA. That hurts. With his control command issues that can pop up at times, I don't know that I'm risking that. So I think for me it's a no. But I think he's going to be in every single lineup where he's probably rostered, even though he shouldn't be.
Yeah, and I also kind of get that in a way, right? If I had him, I could understand that, even though
if I had him, I'd have I don't have him anywhere, so
me neither.
I don't have this issue. But if I had him, I would have an issue not starting him. But you really shouldn't.
No, I do agree. I'd be telling myself, Paul, stop putting Misiorowski in the lineup. It is not the right move right now, and yet I would probably keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's the tough part there that we do have to be careful with somebody like Misiorowski. But at least they've been clear about it too. So you can't even say I can't believe that they're doing this. It's front and center that they've been shortening his innings. So be very careful out there with Jacob Misiorowski. What about your boy, Bailey, MF, and Ober at Toronto, which right there might just be disqualifying. But at Toronto and home to San Diego, 2 pretty difficult matchups for our home run king here. And I say home run king as a derisive comment because he gives up way too many. You're the Ober guy. Yeah. I was until I sold you on him, and then you took him away from me. But now you can have him.
Yeah,
I'm nervous here, Justin, because I'm nervous long term too. That a guy who throws 90 with a home run issue doesn't have a huge margin for error. I want to balance making sure not overreacting to this while also understanding that this could just be the end of him at the peak. Not that Bailey Ober sucks now, but that he's more of a mid-rotation guy as opposed to that frontliner. Where do you come out on your boy Bailey at Toronto, home to San Diego?
I mean, I think it's risky. You don't get a ton of strikeouts, and you have a massive home run rate. I mean, his home run rate and walk rate are exactly the same. So there's a lot of blow-up potential here that I think you should be really, really careful of, especially because after the Twins sold at the deadline, they're now a terrible team. Just so you don't even have the win potential that you had earlier on in the season. You've got 2 teams who are going to be playoff teams on the docket. No strikeout potential, blow-up potential, no win potential. No, you're not starting Bailey Ober.
Just can't do it. I don't know where I'm feeling comfortable with him. And again, he's going to...
this is like one of the parts of fantasy that I think is the hardest for people is if you've loved a guy,
yes,
realizing that guy, you can thank him for his service, what he's done for you previously, and be ready to move away. And yeah, Bailey Ober probably shouldn't even be rostered in 10s and 12s at this point. And you definitely should not be starting him for this 2-step in a 15. And which means you should probably drop him in a 15.
You should consider cutting him then. Yep. Now, the one thing I will say that about a 15 is like, who the hell else are you going to get? But if you are in a pinch for a cut this week, you're like, I don't know who to cut, and I want to get, at least one player, and you have Bailey Ober, I think he needs to be considered. He really does. Like, where's your confidence level with him, folks, to start him? It cannot be high, so be very careful. Now, I wouldn't cut this next guy, but I don't know if I want to freaking start him. Sean Manaea has been rough lately. He gets Philly, Miami, both at home. Miami sneaky solid now, so that's not one good, one bad. That's two, that's a tough matchup and then a decent matchup. But Manaea is sputtering now. 3 straight, 5, 4, and 4 earned runs with a bunch of hits in all of them, 7, 6, and 6, 5 2/3, 4, and 5 innings respectively here. Add it all up, it's been 3 rough starts for Manaea. Is that enough to give you some pause here, or do you just keep plugging away with him? Remember, this was only starts 5, 6, and 7 of the year for him too.
For me, it's mostly about the schedule. You start with Philadelphia, and that scares the crap out of me. Philadelphia's been the 4th best team in terms of OPS over the last 30 days, and Manaea is a guy who can't allow too many hits and sometimes too many bombs, and we've seen that over the course of these last 4 starts where he's struggled since the beginning of August. So I think, 15, again, you're probably rolling with it just because the options are limited, but in 10s and 12s, I wouldn't here.
No, I don't think so either. And again, I would not cut. This is not the same as Ober. I would hold Manaea through, even though I'm not using him in a 2-step. Do you feel the same, or would you maybe cut?
I think I'm still holding.
Yeah, I think it's a hold. I think we still want to hold here with Manaea, but maybe consider passing on the 2-step. Let's go to the Yankees. They got a pair of interesting arms, but I don't know how startable they are. Let's start with Cam Schlittler, and we'll get to Luis Gil in a moment. When you're looking at somebody like Cam Schlittler, the interesting rookie, with a live arm, he gets Washington and a trip to the White Sox. You got to feel pretty good about those matchups. Obviously, the Yankees are a little bit, in a modicum of turmoil right now. Both them and the Mets can't seem to get their heads on right, but it's not Schlittler's fault. He's been 2 or fewer earned in 4 straight outings, going 5, 5, 5, and 6 2/3 last time out. The Ks are nice. The walks are a problem, but they've been at least manageable the last 4 games. He hasn't gone more than 2 walks in a game. Where does Schlittler come out for you? 3.22 ERA, 1.32 WHIP, and again, Washington and at the White Sox for Schlittler.
I don't know how you're not starting him everywhere at this point. Like I think this is a very similar case to like Noah Cameron, where you look at the underlying numbers and you go, this is definitely going to regress at some point. But until it does, I think you're rolling with it. And he plays for the Yankees, who are going to win games here.
Yep.
With really good matchups here against the Nationals and the White Sox. I feel like you have to be starting Schlittler here, and
I think so too.
I can't imagine a format where I'm leaving him on the bench. It's going to feel really weird to write Bailey Ober, you can't start anywhere, and Schlittler is the guy
Schlittler is a yes.
Yeah, this definitely feels like one of those name generated players in Madden.
For sure.
This point, but yeah, I think you're for sure. He's been really, really good.
He has, and Noah Cameron call out is perfect for Schlittler because I kind of view them similarly. I think they even came up at around a similar time, and they both just been sneaky, quiet, awesome. I'm surprised they're not getting as much fanfare. And actually, excuse me, Cameron came up quite a bit early.
Yeah, Cameron came in early.
18-7. My bad on that on the starts there. But either way, Schlittler, sneaky solid. There is risk, but if you're chasing wins and strikeouts, you're definitely starting him. And you can't even do it for ratios. ERA over WHIP, because I do think the WHIP is a little scary with Schlittler. What about Luis Gil? Obviously not pitching a lot this year. He only has 3 starts under his belt. They haven't been very good. His walk rate issues are still there. Do we have anything that we like? He did get 5 1/3 in each of the last 2, and they were pretty decent. So the bad start against Miami to open his season has boosted the ERA. Are the 2 decent starts encouraging you at all for Luis Gil?
I mean, again, he pitches for the Yankees, so he's going to get run support. If you cut off that first start of the season, he has a 2.30 ERA in his last 3 starts, 14 strikeouts and 15 2/3. So you're getting almost a strikeout an inning. The walks are a problem. It's 9 walks over these last 3 starts, including 8 in the last 2. But you got the Yankees back behind you, supporting you, and you're facing the Nationals and the White Sox. Like, I think you're rolling with this one and just hoping. It's definitely a little bit more scary than maybe the last.
Oh, this is interesting. Sorry to interrupt you here because
Yeah.
BREF does not have yesterday's game in Gil's game log on the Major League page. But then when I go to, because you said 3 starts, I was like, he only has 3 starts. What are you talking about?
Oh, no, yeah, pitched yesterday.
Yeah, and he pitched yesterday. Okay, so he does have 3 goodies in a row, not just 2. Yeah. That gives me a little extra confidence. That's 5 1/3 2 times, and then 5 innings the other time.
It was, yeah. The 5 innings though came with 5 walks.
It did. And that's, so listen, his walks are a problem.
Yeah.
But I thought I was going to have Schlittler here and Gil here. They're pretty close. If I start Schlittler,
I think there's actually. I think they're still a little far away, but like
I still had a decent distance, but I didn't have this distance. I'm doing motions with my hands. If
the
you're
people
just listening,
are like, I have no idea what you guys.
Basically, I thought there was a huge gap, and I made the gap smaller. I still think Schlittler is above Gil, but with the 3 good starts in a row, all going 5, and I know the one had the 5 walks. That's you're right to point that out.
But he still got to 5. Like that.
Exactly. That's the encouraging
5
part.
5 walks, and he still made it to 5 innings. So I'm more encouraged by that. Yeah, I think you're starting Gil in most formats.
And I think one of the big questions here that you have to ask throughout all of this with the streaming down the stretch is, does 7 earned runs, does a bomb out kill
you? Yeah.
And if it does, then that's where you have to make tougher decisions, right? Because you never know who could do that. I mean, that could happen to Skeens, right? Like, that's baseball. But there's obviously a higher likelihood with these lower tier guys, and you have to ask, does that ruin your season? And if it does, maybe that's your answer. But if you can take it on and still keep pushing, then you can start riskier guys. Go ahead.
We get these questions every year at this time. Like, should I start this guy? Or and I always tell people, I don't know. Do a spreadsheet of your standings. Like,
yeah, I need way more info on your standings to answer it.
Just take your entire all the stats you've accumulated this year, put them in a spreadsheet, and then add the stats from a bad line, like a 7 earned run in 3 innings. Like,
and what does it do? Does it cost you 3 ERA points?
Yeah, exactly.
Then don't start that guy. No, that's exactly. You got to do the math on this. When you're fighting for a championship, there is some extra homework, and I understand. I don't want to be doing math, but to win, you got to go that extra mile.
If you've made it to August 22nd,
yeah, you're already.
Then you're like, if you're not already in football and not paying attention, like, if you're in at this point, do the extra work. Like,
yeah.
It's just, if you need help, DM me on Twitter, and I will walk you through it.
Because all you really need to do is create it once. Like, I'm an Excel guy. I know some people do like Python and R and all that sort of coding. But in Excel, all you need to do is do it once. Create a little thing, and then you can just input the numbers. And then here's 3 runs, 3 innings, 7 earned. It raised my ERA to this. That would cost me X points. So yeah, it's not that hard. I will say this. If you're listening on August 22nd, you're probably already doing a lot of that stuff. But hey, we got some new folks in who maybe aren't used to the championship grind. It does require a little extra to get there. Let's move on to our 2 Pirates here, because we do have back-to-back Pirates. And it's another situation where it's the one guy that you'd think, oh, it's kind of easy to keep starting Mitch Keller. He's had a pretty good season. However, he's unraveling lately. 3 of his last 4 starts have been duds. And again, for me, the shorthand dud means 5 earned or more. You cannot have a good start with 5 earned in most cases. Maybe there's some like 12 strikeout outing with a win out there where somebody gave up 5. Don't hit me with that bullshit. But bottom line is he's sputtering. The other's Johan Oviedo, who's, was out for most of the year. He's at St. Louis and at Boston. Both of them are. I want to start with Keller before we get to Oviedo, because I was a Keller hater this year.
Yeah.
And in fact, I had him last on a board one day, and it was a day that he was facing the Mets, and he actually dominated them, so I looked really dumb. But I was just like, I'm not in on Keller. He's not that good. And I got a little pushback on it. And he had started putting together a bunch of good starts. I think it was the May 13th start when he put 7 innings, 2 earned, and I had him literally last on the board. I adjusted, though. He continued to do well, or maybe it was June 27th when he had 5 in the third, 1 earned against him. Either way, I adjusted. I moved him for y'all. But I was always skeptical, Justin, and I was proven right because he's pulled the rug out from under us here. Like I mentioned, 3 of the last 4 have been duds. Can you trust Mitch Keller on the road for 2 starts?
Okay, so he's had 26 starts this year.
Okay.
He has a total of 42 walks for a really good walk rate this year, a 2.61 walk per 9.
Yeah, we can work with that.
However, 15 of those 42 walks have come in his last 6 starts.
So his walk rate was elite then.
Yeah, his walk rate was unreal good. And then all of a sudden, over these last 6 starts, he just can't find the zone.
No. Is this dog days then? Is he just grind? He's been through the grind 3 times in a row now.
I do feel like that is it. He's also had
this is Mitch Keller, by the way. We haven't said his name in a bit.
Yeah. He's also had some pretty tough starts the last, little bit, right? He's had Milwaukee and Toronto, 2 of the better teams.
We'll keep going. Cincinnati
baseball.
before that,
yeah,
and then 2 Colorado before that. So it's all August has been tough on Keller.
So, and then it was a good start in Detroit versus Detroit, home versus Detroit on the 22nd, but there's 3 walks, right? Like they got patient on him. So, I think there's risk, and I have a really hard time wanting to start him in a 10, but in a 12 and a 15, like, what are you doing if you're not starting Mitch Keller? Like, I
think that's not unfair. I will tell you this: if you're worried about the double roadies, pretty much same guy home and road. In fact, a bit worse at home on the whip. The whip is significantly worse, I should say. 139 to 120. Now, I don't know how bankable that is. Everything else is pretty much the same. The ERAs are close. Strikeout rates are close. Strikeout to walk rates are close. So I don't know if he just it's BABIP. 322 at home, 276 on the road for Keller. So yeah, I wouldn't get too hung up on these being 2 roadies. I think 15s, I'm a yes.
Yeah, I think you have to in a 15.
I think so too, but 12s, I'm trying not to, but if you gotta, I get it.
The hard part is, like, we've done the majority of this list.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, like, a lot of these guys were no's.
Right. So you got to start somebody.
It's a big list of no's.
I told you they were scary guys. What about his teammate, Johan Oviedo? Somebody I really liked 2 years ago. Remember, he lost all of last year returning from TJ. But he was putting some things together in 23. I liked him as a prospect, Cardinals prospect, I should say. So when he got traded over to Pittsburgh, I was like, okay, good park. They should give him opportunity. And they did. He got a full season in 2023 and put up a 4.31 ERA, 1.37 WHIP. Neither of those ratios are hot, but it was a full season for Oviedo at 25. He looked pretty decent. Again, goes down with TJ, misses all of last year. He's only been back for 2 starts. Nothing to write home about in those 2 starts, but is it enough of a tune-up to trust? Because the first start was just 1 inning, and I don't know I guess he just pitched, 43 pitches. Okay, so they took him out after 43 pitches, but he bounced back against Toronto. 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and 6 punchies. Is that enough to give you some Oviedo interest?
I mean, this is the typical Tommy John returning guy, right?
Yeah, in a microcosm there with just 2 starts, right?
Right. You got exactly both sides of the coin on this. 1 start that was absolutely atrocious, only went an inning, walked 3 guys, and then
43 pitches in the first.
And then he went out and absolutely dominated it against one of the best teams in baseball this year.
Yep.
And
one of the hottest going right now, especially like catching them at the wrong time and dominating them.
So, like, I don't know. Well, I mean, in 15s, you're probably rolling with it, and 10s and 12s, I probably wouldn't. But like, I have no idea what to expect from Oviedo.
That's where I come out with Oviedo too. Yeah, 15s. I think I'm gonna find a spot there if I'm chasing pitching, and 10s and 12s. You got to be careful. I might get cued in a 12. I might. It depends on the options, but there's high risk here because he's returning from TJ. Well, he has 2 starts.
And I want to point out too, he dominated Toronto and only went 5. So
right.
So actually, I think this is even on a maybe level in a 15 because, like, if he walks 3 guys, is he going to make it through 5? I don't think so.
Is he going to make it through 3 at that point, right? Because they're clearly going to be tight on him, and they were right to take him out after. For those that don't know, a 30 pitch inning is a danger zone. They let him get 43, and they realized, okay, well, there's your day right there. So yeah, be careful here with Oviedo. You don't have to be cute. And I might even pick him up in stash too. See how the 2-step goes. If it looks more like the Toronto start, then jump on him next week. If it looks more like the San Francisco start, then we don't want anything to do with him. All right, let's move on to Bryce Miller. Is this his return, or has he been back for a start?
I believe this is his return, but
I think so too. I'm checking. Yeah.
Oh, no. This is his second start.
Oh yeah.
He went to Philadelphia, got roughed up a little bit.
But still went 5, so not bad. At least he's been back. He's going to get San Diego at home and then go to Cleveland. Bryce Miller getting back in your lineup after the tune-up?
I mean, he was sitting 96, which
that's what you want.
It was the best of his season right there, right? Like when he was like 93 to 94, most of the season before hitting the IL. He's hitting 96 now, and yeah, I think that to me means maybe Bryce Miller's back to being the guy that he was prior to going on the IL. So I'm very, very intrigued by Miller. Like these aren't like easy matchups, but they're not matchups you're running away from. San Diego offensively has been much better over the course of the last 30 days or so, but they haven't been a powerhouse offense this year. And Cleveland just figures out ways to win, but they've actually been a pretty terrible offense over the last 30 days in spite of their winning ways.
Right.
So I think I am rolling with Bryce Miller in just about every format.
I think so too. I think I'm pretty intrigued.
And if he's still available on your wire, maybe go grab him.
I would go pretty hard for him. Yeah, absolutely. All right, my boy JV on your favorite team. So it's the meeting of the worlds here, but this is late career JV. This is not super bankable. What are we doing here? He's at a 4.23 ERA, which isn't too bad, especially for deeper leagues, but the 142 whip is horrendous, and that's the scary part. He's coming off of an absolute gem against Tampa Bay, 7 innings of 2-hit ball, no runs, 8 Ks, no walks. But the start right before that against Washington was the other side of the coin, just like we talked about with Oviedo, where you could see the microcosm in 2 starts. 5 innings, 11 hits, 5 runs, 6 Ks, and a walk. So these last 2 starts have shown the highs and lows of Verlander. Can you get there for a Chicago-Baltimore 2-step at home? That's going to be the Cubs and Orioles coming to visit in San Francisco for Verlander. Go ahead.
The underlying skills have actually been really good.
That's why I stuck with him for so long too.
I'm definitely tempted here. So, I mean, since the break, he has a 4.50 ERA in 7 games. 34 innings, 32 strikeouts. You're almost at a strikeout an inning. His FIP is 3.14.
He's much better at home too.
Yeah, it's been,
as you would expect for a Giant.
It's been really BABIP influenced issues. He's run a 3.52 BABIP since the break and a 69% strand rate, which just isn't not very nice. Yeah, not nice. So this is risky because it's Verlander and the stuff isn't what it was. And you have a Cubs team coming to town that is very, very good. But
right.
I can see the argument in a 15. There's a lot of these guys we talked about where I'm scared to start them, and I'm scared to start Verlander too, but I'm not as scared, I guess.
Same. That's where I'm at. Yeah, because this board has been dicey all day today that we've been talking about. He's actually pretty high on it, Verlander.
I would probably start him over Martín Pérez and Shane Smith and Sugano and Pfaadt,
Diamondbacks,
E-Rod, over. Actually, I don't think I'd start him over Sandy.
I would start him over. Sandy.
I can see the argument.
I would start him over Manaea. I think.
I was literally about to say I wouldn't start him.
That Manaea 2-step. Listen, everyone knows I'm a Verlander fanboy too, though. And that has to be accounted for, that there's probably a little extra lean toward him in these 50-50 matchups. So you guys understand that I'm a fanboy. And if you don't want to start Verlander, I'm not going to crush you. Let's go to Michael McGreevy, young pitcher for St. Louis. He's going to get Pittsburgh and then a trip to Cincinnati. So his juice is on the front end there, which we like, especially with a rookie, because they can really get messed with innings count or anything like that. So at least he gets the goodie out front. Is that enough to reel him in for you, Michael McGreevy?
Yeah, he's another guy who has the underlying numbers are better. He's just been a little bit unlucky. 63% strand rate this season for McGreevy. There's some risk here because there isn't a lot of strikeouts.
Like 3 straight quality starts and a run away from a 4th straight. He went 6 innings, 4 runs in the 4th of those starts for McGreevy.
It kind of is almost like a Bailey Ober light profile, although he hasn't really given up the homers, but he does not walk anybody. He has 7 walks in 57 innings. Like, that's insane walk rate right there.
That's his calling card, right? The control?
Yeah, but he does not strike anybody out. He only has 33 strikeouts in 57. So if you need strikeouts, you're definitely not starting McGreevy. But I think you could get some cheap wins here.
Yeah, and whip. So, win and whip. Yeah. Give me the dubs for McGreevy. Win and whip is what I'm chasing here. If I'm chasing those, I'm going for McGreevy in a lot of formats.
And like you said, you get the Pittsburgh start at the beginning, and you go to Cincinnati. Maybe you even just hope that one gets pushed out.
Yeah,
the next
I'd be
week.
Okay with that.
And you just get the goodness from Pittsburgh. But yeah, I think I'm starting McGreevy in 15s and some 12s.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm at. Now, this one is now being not shown as a 2-step, so I don't know. Shane Baz, because they hang on, this is for this week. I'm sorry. Oh, because of that Saturday day off that I was telling you about, that weird ass thing. It now makes Baz a 2-step next week when he could have been this week, but since they only that's why. So he goes to Cleveland and to Washington next week. Monday, Sunday starts for Shane Baz. You know how I feel about this guy. I've been out most of the year. And I feel vindicated. He's had some good runs where I looked a little silly, but 5.22 ERA here in late August. I'm just not a Baz guy, and I'm sorry. I get plenty of stuff wrong, but this one I got right to stay away from him. I'm out. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm out here too.
Let's talk long term then, because we're both not starting him right now. First full season. This is his fullest season in the majors, 138 innings, eclipsing last year's 79. Going to be 27 next year, which is magic, so he's automatically guaranteed a great year. Yeah. Where do you go on Baz? Like, if you start a DC in October, what round are you even thinking of taking Baz in?
You know, I'm going to, because of what we're about to talk about, I'm actually going to backtrack and say I would start Baz this week.
Okay.
He has been absolutely fantastic on the road. He's been
and
terrible.
Double roadies. Okay.
Yeah. And then he has a 7.06 home ERA, a 3.52 road ERA.
All right, you're selling me. That is enough of a split, and both are on the road. I will start Baz too. Yep.
Yeah, I would start Baz this week because they're both road starts, and you're not like worried about these teams offensively, right? You got your at Cleveland, who I said like they've been good in terms of wins, but they have not been good offensively over the last 30 days. You've got Washington, who is kind of just a mediocre team, but has struggled offensively over the last 30 days. I think you're definitely starting Baz. But I think as we look forward to 2026, you go, do you want half a pitcher?
Yeah, because they're still there next year. Don't forget. You know, we talked. Well,
and they front load that schedule, right? Where you're getting all those home games, you know, a lot of those home games at the start. And then as the season goes on, you're getting the away games. I'd rather not draft Baz and then pick him up halfway through the season. So, like, I think until they're out of that stadium, which isn't going to be for a while, I just don't know that you want half a pitcher, especially when you don't get the goodness at the front half.
Yep. And I will co-sign that on Baz for next year, but I will also amend and say, yes, start him this week in 15s and heavy consideration in 12s because he's a different pitcher on the road. That park is eating him up, as we worried with a lot of Tampa Bay pitchers. Baz has been one of the ones that's been eaten up the most. Let's talk about Brad Lord, one of my favorite names in the game right now. It'd be cooler if he was like amazing, you know, because then he's lording over the league. Instead, he's like a solid swingman type. I want to give him his flowers. He's been pretty good here for 96 innings. as a swing man with 12 starts, 41 appearances in all, 3.46 ERA, 125 WHIP. He has to go to Yankee Stadium, which I think is disqualifying on its own. But you can tell me if I'm wrong. He also gets Tampa Bay on the weekend. Are you doing anything with Brad Lord?
No, he's got an 87 stuff plus.
Oh my God! 100 is average, folks. It's like all the other plus numbers. 100 is average, so 87 is horrendous.
He is what you called him. Brad Lord is a swingman. And it's a fun story because he was working in Home Depot in the off season, and that's really cool. And maybe you get some cheap ratio help in good matchups, but going to the Yankees is not a good matchup, and so I'm staying away from Brad Lord for the most part.
That's all it took for me was the Yankees start because it's just too scary. Kick-ass name, wishing him best of luck, but definitely not starting him. So there you go, folks. I don't think I missold it at the front end there when I said it's a really dicey board. A lot of interesting names that we wouldn't have normally thought would be here, and yet due to underperformance, injury, or a mix of both, we had a lot of guys here. So, all right, Justin, we're going to get out of here. We're going to continue our meatball draft breakdown next week with Joe Rico. And then are you and Jason getting... Damn it, I almost had it. I almost said all three LJ names, and I got to the third one, and I flubbed it. Are you and Jason getting together this weekend?
Listen, Joel, we are getting together this weekend, and or at least as long as Jason doesn't get stuck camping somewhere. But, we should be going, I think, every Sunday for the rest of the year. So
excellent.
Unless something pops up. Yeah,
and then we're planning an early weeker to start the second half of that preview, and then our normal one on Thursday will be the third part of that preview, and then we'll be back for two steps as well. All right, so have a wonderful weekend. We are fully in the dog days, folks. Even if you love football, but if you're still contending, keep your focus. Football can wait. Football's easy too. You don't even need your brain to play football.
I mean, I literally drafted a team yesterday while like working and driving. Like I just like
don't do that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've never been on my phone while driving. I would be a disingenuous piece of shit on that. But please be careful out there, folks. All right, Justin, great speaking with you. We will talk early next week. Take care.
Take it easy.